Imagine this. You're sitting alone, getting your daily scroll before your next class. You have a group of friends talking about who's the strongest character in the universe that they like, whether it be in anime, DC Comics, Marvel, Star Wars, anything like that. A minute later, a question is uttered out and it brings in complete silence. Who would win in a fight? Then minutes later, you see the same group now waging universal World War II as they rip each other's limbs out. Power scaling is a concept that has existed in fictional media where you have people comparing the strength of both characters from different universes or characters from the same universe and see who would win in a fight or see which one is strong. So today I want to talk about the problem of power scaling, regardless if the character or the power scaling in question revolves around all types of media or if it goes into anime, manga, comics, Marvel, DC, or video games, while also shining a little bit of a positive light onto power scaling, showing that while it does have some problems, it also has some positives. So with that being said, let's begin. Now for those of you who don't know what power scaling is a method of comparison used by both fans and creators where they compare the strength, speed, durability, and other abilities of a character from one universe to another, or maybe in the same universe. Basically, who's better than who at what. And power scalers are the ones who determine which character is better by doing complicated mathematical equations to calculate the character's speed, calculate the diameter of the metropolis-sized crater they left behind, and their grip strength as well. Methods that are used to quantify the character's powers involve feats, you freaks, I'm talking about the achievements, statements made by the characters or creators to describe the level of strength, and of course, battles. And who can not forget power levels like the classic
"It's over 9,000!"
There's a lot of info about power scaling, like hierarchy and tier list. You also used to see videos of people comparing characters and see who's stronger. You used to see them all the time on TikTok and YouTube Shorts, like back at 2020 up until 2022. I think they still happen today. And honestly, it's a pretty nice thing to have. If you ever had the thought of if Goku is stronger than SpongeBob, for example, then there's probably someone who's already answered that question for you by doing a power scaling comparison. If you ever wanted to know how strong a character is in real life, then power scaling is there. And honestly, the calculations from these people are astronomically impressive. But sometimes power scaling can be very stupid. It may be a good concept, but it's not a perfect concept, and today we're going to focus on that one. There are quite a few problems with power scaling, with the first one being it ignores the character and story. One of the best things about characters is that you get to see how they were at the beginning of the story, undergo obstacles that acted as a test against their ideals, seeing them come to terms with their own weaknesses that hold them back from achieving their goals, and we, the consumers, get to see themes that challenge their character and why those characters act the way they do. The problem with power scaling is that it focuses rather on strength than the narrative and the development of the characters that they went through that helped them reach that level of strength. Every character has a reason to attain that level of strength. For instance, in solo leveling, Sun Jianwoo wanted to become strong enough to gather ingredients for the elixir of life to cure his mom from a sickness that the hospital cannot even treat. And he wants to get strong enough, since you have that psycho Huang Dong-soo who literally wants to spill Jinwoo and Jinho's blood for packing his brother. I'm pretty sure some of you have forgotten about that because of all this ore farming that you guys be seeing on TikTok. Even if it's not about ore farming, there has to be like a level of motivation as to why the character got strong. Like for instance, Virgil wanting to become powerful because he wants more power and he wants to reject the humanity side that he has since he views his human side holding back from his true potential, or Dante wanting to protect people and gaining power by coming to terms with his demonic side and accepting that he is a half-breed at the end of the day. Power scaling completely overshadows that. Nah, he's got more power. Time for new calculations. Now the next problem that power scaling brings is that it can create a very toxic fan culture. It is inevitable that on the internet, people will have differences in opinions, and the same goes for power scaling. Power scaling will bring a lot of discourse because there are differences in opinions. There are people who are very passionate about this topic, but they can get too passionate to the point where it's kind of getting to borderline aggression. Like it gets too passionate to the point where their friendships may as well just be broken and ops will just be created. A lot of this mainly stems from diehard fans of fandoms who really love their characters and don't want to see them lose against another character. Like for instance, you'll have Gojo Meat Rider saying that he'll beat Sukuna, who literally is deemed as the strongest character in the Jujutsu Kaisen universe, and Gojo fans will always say, nah, he'd win. Then Gojo proceeded to get sliced in half. After this, a lot of Gojo fans cried out after Brody got packed by Sukuna. And honestly, I don't want to remind you guys about the Gojo figure incident, okay? If you know, you know. The last time I remember, Itadori was the main character of this series, and Gojo was just a pivotal character. And I bet there'll be some niggas down in the comments disagreeing with me on this one. What's funny is that fans who do these power scaling videos are going to put categories that the character is best at or what the other character is worst at. Like for instance with Batman versus Superman, they'll include flying just to give an automatic win to Superman because he can fly, and Batman cannot fly. I understand that fans love their characters so much that they don't want to see their GOAT get washed by another character. But the kind of aggression is the same aggression when you tell a new gen Kendrick fan that he's not the best. Meanwhile, it takes like 5 hours for them to even name any other songs other than Not Like Us. Now bear in mind, not everybody participates in this kind of toxic fan culture. Not everybody is like super or overly passionate about this one. Like there will be like some respect between two fan bases, obviously. There will be fans who quite literally will not even take your opinion whatsoever and just rather toss it out just so that they can make sure that their character is the best and the best only. Now the next problem that is presented by power scaling comparisons is that they weren't even intended by creators of the works in the first place. The main focus on who beats who is what is on the minds of a lot of power scalers. They want to know if Saitama can beat Goku, since Saitama can literally one-punch everything since he's One Punch Man.
Really, nigga?
That was a terrible joke, I'm sorry. And Goku, who can use Ultra Instinct, which is a technique that can be used by literal gods. All I can say is neither of them are strong, okay? The cameraman always wins, he's the best. Okay, but on the real though, characters and authors never created these characters with just the thought of these characters being able to kill Superman. Each universe has its own power system that it uses to support the world building. Like My Hero Academia with quirks, Jujutsu Kaisen has curses, Black Clover has magic, Dragon Ball has ki energy, Bleach has spiritual pressure, One Piece has devil fruits, Marvel has superpowers, Star Wars has the Force, Red Bull gives you wings, I guess. Aside from magic and superpowers, which is the most common power system that you will see in most of these media, every other power system works in its own universe just so that they can support the story and the world building around. Sure, you can argue that these power systems can easily adapt into other universes like in collab shows, but at that point you're just talking about collaborations. Creators and authors will state in their works how strong their characters are. Like in Dragon Ball, Goku and Vegeta would say that Gohan has the biggest potential outbeating theirs, and that he would literally become the strongest Saiyan if he just put in the work and train, which is a true sentiment that many people would agree on. You all forgot that Gohan was the one who put an end to Cell, right? And he was a teenager, by the way, and he was the first one to achieve Super Saiyan 2. Power scaling helps establish a hierarchy in the story, like having magic gods being at the top and magicless humans being at the bottom. These creators already have a plan for their characters to become super strong to beat the bad guy or just to be a higher force, but these fans will just straight up ignore that. And I would say this even happened with Jujutsu Kaisen when Gojo got killed. How many people even had hopes in Yuji defeating Sukuna? But it turns out later, he actually had a pretty dang good edge. The creators are the ones who have the final say as to who will beat the final villain and how strong they are, but the fans choose to rather focus on the characters' feats, strengths, and experience rather than just focusing on some of the characters who do really have a lot of the potential, which is kind of sad. So to wrap up the video, I want to shine a positive light onto power scaling. Power scaling helps the viewers understand just how powerful a character is in real life. For example, how fast the character is in miles per hour, kilometers per hour, depending on where you're living, or even the speed of light. It can also spark some friendly debates as to who can really beat who, with them backing up the characters with their feats and experience, as well as the power and how extremely powerful they are. As well as the power scaling community can really create some tier lists to determine which character is stronger, as well as create some very impressive calculations and dive into the lore of the story.
Their class. This saber is King Arthur, and this saber known as Red Saber is the Roman Emperor Nero. So they can be a saber and they can look the same, but that does not mean that they're the same person. Correct. Unless they are. What do you mean? This is Saber Alter. Which historical person is she? King Arthur. Wait, I thought this saber was King Arthur. That saber is King Arthur, and so is this one. So there are multiple King Arthurs.
Proving that even if power scaling is dumb, you can't deny that it's a pretty nice thing that exists. And it definitely helps any sort of community try to understand the character's power. But anyways, that wraps up the video right now. Check out the video on screen if you guys are interested to see more and you like this one. But yeah, with that being said, I gotta go take a dump. Later.